Hi there, everyone. My name is Nitish, and this is another video of this channel. And today I've been joined by one of my very amazing person on the tech Twitter, that is Arsh Sharma. Arsh is currently working as a emojilogist at Octato, right? I am sorry if I pronounced it term wrongly, but basically, by the means of this session, we'll be exploring the different aspects of how the contributing journey have been with Arsh. He is currently a CNCF ambassador, and he's also the new contributor ambassador at Kubernetes, right? So we'll be touching the different things as mentioned, and this session is not focusing upon the particular instant, but we'll be definitely be focusing upon what are the some of the areas that we need to cover, whether it's starting contributing to Kubernetes, or whether it's understanding the code base, or whatever the things that generally comes around the ecosystem. All right. Ash, thanks for joining in. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, hi. Thanks for inviting me. I think you summed up everything in the introduction. I am Arsh, everyone. I work at Octeto, and being an emojiologist is not my actual job title. I work as a developer experience engineer there, and that's about it. I think we can get started.
All right. That's very good. I want to know something like you have been contributing to Kubernetes, right? And you are hosting the meetings as well for the docs, right? The new contributor meets. But as a beginner, when you started contributing to Kubernetes, and then becoming the new contributor ambassador, and then becoming the CNCF ambassador, what is the struggle and what is the journey that has been up till now?
Uh, I so I think it all started with like writing a couple of blogs about Kubernetes and Docker. And I don't know if you've heard this maintainers of this project called Kyverno. They really like my blog, and they reached out to me for an internship. So I worked there for a while, and that's how I was introduced to the CNCF ecosystem of tools. And that's where I gained experience writing uh, code for controllers and all. And then I heard about this program called the Linux Foundation Mentorship, to which I had applied, and that's how I got involved in the Kubernetes community. So I would say, like, compared to other people, I've sort of had a smooth transition because as part of the LFX program, like, I had a mentor who's great, Tim. I think you know him. He helped me along, like, s- almost like whenever I would get stuck. So he helped me navigate the community. He helped me understand how things work, and then along the way I made more friends, which sort of made the whole journey easier.
I see. And when you started contributing to Kubernetes, it first of all, it's like a overwhelming project at the very first, right? But what were the challenges that you generally face, and how did you deal with it?
For me, I think so. Usually, when I see right now when people start contributing, they take like a issue and they try to fix it, and then there's the existing code around it which you have to understand. For me, it was slightly different because I was working on like a completely new project which had its like own repository, and we had to build this tool from scratch. So I did not have to go through that struggle of understanding what was there in place. For me, the struggle was more in terms of that I had just recently started writing Go code, or in fact, like working on a project like a tool. I had never created something from scratch, something like a CLI, which is going to be used by the community. So just navigating challenges which come with that, like planning and other things which come when you like contribute to open source projects, like communicating effectively with others. And like, you can't just create a repo and push some code on Kubernetes. You have to like write docs and plan things and involve others in the loop. So those were the things like that were new to me and that I learned during that time.
I see. I guess I heard your podcast with Doc Community as well, where you mentioned that you were a web developer, right? And then you kind of a bored, and then you started with the some Kubernetes stuff, right, like that. But you see, we have a bunch of fields like we have Web3 as well, and we have bunch of other technical fields. But what was that initial phase which you call that made you getting involved within the Kubernetes and the CNCF ecosystem as a whole?
Uh, Nothing. I think it was just like I said, like I had gotten bored of creating web pages, and there was like a certain curiosity in my mind, and I had heard these terms called Docker and Kubernetes, and I had no idea what that was. Then one day I was just like, okay, let's try learning about it, and that could have been anything else. Also, I I think it was just by chance that like maybe I had like read about Docker, like the word Docker somewhere, and that was on my mind like for past few days. But I was like, let's just start looking into it, and I just like went ahead with it. So there wasn't any elaborate planning or reasoning to start learning Docker instead of Web3 or machine learning or anything else which happens.
I see. Let's get ahead a little bit and understand a little bit perspective about contributing to Kubernetes. Uh, as we know, it's an overwhelming project, but since you have an experience of hosting the new contributor meet as well, so what is the mistake that you generally see in the new beginners starting their way in the open source or getting started with the Kubernetes open source project? Would you like to share your some insights about this as well?
I wouldn't really call this a mistake, since this is like a very natural thing which would happen to anyone if you're like get thrown into something new and which is as big and complicated as Kubernetes. But what I see is that a lot of people like get a lot of people have these expectations what contributing is going to be like that they'll assign themselves an issue, and within a week they would have merged 2 3 PRs, and they would have added a new feature to Kubernetes. But when they actually start doing that, they realize that it is not that easy, and it takes time, not only just learning the code. Like even if you create a PR which is completely fixes the problem, it still takes time getting reviews and ensuring that you're following existing code patterns and all. And a lot of people get discouraged by that, and they end up quitting. So I feel like this is something which happens with beginners a lot, that they end up quitting early. And I feel if you can power through that phase of uncertainty and feeling a bit lost, then you're like definitely in for the long haul.
I see. That's a very good thing. Let's get ahead a little bit and understand what are you currently working upon and where do you actually work? And we'll shortly
uh,
be moving. Yeah,
So
right.
I work at Octeto. We are a startup which provides cloud dev environments. So the whole idea is that before Kubernetes and everything, people just used to, when they used to develop applications, they would bring up the application locally, write some code. But that does not work in today's world of microservices and containers, because if you bring up your application locally, first of all, it's not easy nowadays. Like you just don't have like just a front end and a back end, right? There are multiple microservices which are interacting with each other. Like you have a database, you have queues and whatnot, and everything is a different service. So this has created a sort of bad developer experience where developers are having to, instead of being able to just write code, they have to bring up all these things and do all of this configuration which they didn't have to earlier. So Octeto aims to solve, this is one of the problems Octeto aims to solve, is to improve the developer experience when building applications. And the second biggest problem is that developers no longer are able to write code in realistic environments. Like the local desktop does not mimic what will happen in production where you're using Kubernetes, right? So the whole idea is that you develop using on Kubernetes, that you use Kubernetes during the development phase also. That is why we have cloud dev environments where when you're developing, your code is running on an actual Kubernetes cluster. So you are sure that whatever you're seeing is exactly what you'll get when you push to production.
See, I started contributing to Octeto, and it's pretty much good experience there. Bunch of you along with I remember Ramiro, and then there's Xavier as well. So A lot of good people have been there in the community as well. But how did you get involved with Octeto? I mean, uh, yeah, what was the journey like? You got into Octeto. Did the founders reach out to you, or you reached out to
First of all,
them?
I'm glad you're having a great time contributing to the project. Like, Octata CLI is a completely open source project, and I would encourage everyone to check it out. It works with any Kubernetes clusters and allows you to develop applications there. And if people are looking to contribute to and have experience with Go, then I feel like we have a pretty helpful community, like you just pointed out. So first of all that, and to come back to your question, how I started working at Octeto, well, it was purely by chance, you could say. I instead of apart from writing code, I also love writing technical articles, and I was just looking online for companies which have like a technical writers program, which is where you can like write technical articles in your free time. And Octeto had a program, and I reached out to them, and then we sort of like started working together for a month or so, and we worked together, and it was a good experience, but it was not something full time. I was just working on a contract basis. And then I was in the middle of shifting jobs, and I just told this to my manager, and she was like, why don't you join us and do what you're currently doing full time? And I was like, that sounds exciting. And by coincidence, it just happened.
I see. And I am curious to know, since does your college play any role for the job that you're currently working at?
Not really.
I see. And what was the interview process look like?
Uh, it wasn't much of a interview. Like there weren't any coding assignments or anything. It's my journey was different because like I had already worked with a team, so they were familiar with my work. The interview process was mainly just like setting expectations about the role and what's it going to be and all of that stuff.
I see. And would you mind sharing some of your plans for the future? Like, do you plan to stick with the domain of DevOps, try exploring more? And what are you currently focusing upon the current aspects?
Uh, yeah, I currently plan to stay. I don't generally make far fetched plans because life happens and life keeps happening. But yeah, I currently really enjoy this domain, and I have plans to continue with it. There are a lot of exciting things happening in this space, and I feel like it's really growing at a good pace, and that's why I plan to continue with it. And as answering your thing about things I'm working on right now, well, we have a very, I don't know if I'm not allowed to say this, but there's something very cool going to happen soon at Octato, which we'll be announcing. So that is mostly my primary focus these days. And I can't wait to share it with you and everyone soon.
Sure, that sounds interesting. Um, the new update is going to be released very soon, right?
Yep.
All right, I see. And what if I ask you, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
Uh, that's a good question. I feel there are a couple of things. Like the first thing is like whenever someone reads the content we produce and they, just take a moment to reply that they found it helpful and it has helped them like learn something, or it has helped them solve the problems which they have been facing with development. I think that really makes my day and the day of the entire team, knowing that you have actually helped someone in something they have been facing, a problem they have been facing. So that is, other than that, other things which I really find satisfying is just that feeling of completing a like completing some content you have been working on for like a couple of days, and when you reach that conclusion and it gets good reception, I really enjoy that too.
That's great. And not and I would say, but you got selected as a CNCF ambassador recently, right?
Yeah.
What was your first reaction when you saw that email?
I was very happy, like, and that email came like very late, also like for the Indian time zone. So I was just chilling, and I saw that email, and it totally made my day. I was like super happy, and the first thing I did was let my friends know and the team know that this has happened, because I think I had applied a while ago, and then I totally forgotten about it, and I didn't even know that the results was like coming soon. So yeah, that really made me happy.
I see. I won't make this podcast so long, but I have some a final question to ask, and that is, what it takes to reach at this level you're currently at.
I'm not sure what this means, like what level I'm currently at. Like,
What?
what do you,
Let me try to rephrase it. You, if we go, if I go through your LinkedIn profile and all the experiences that you had till now, right? It it generally takes a good amount of time to reach to do all the stuff that you have done right now. Still figuring out your way alongside it, right? Now coming back to the same thing, you have done a bunch of things, right? But what is those things that you actually see, whether it's your habits or whether it's it can be anything that has helped you a lot reaching at this stage, at this level you're currently at? It can be anything, like.
I haven't done that sort of self analysis. What has like what has led to all of this, but so I don't really have a concise answer for you. But for me, like from my perspective, it has just been like uh, I think looking for things which interest you, and once you find that interest of yours, just like focusing on that heads down without worrying about all the other things like other people are doing, or just spreading yourself thin. Instead of doing that, just like find what interests you and just like go deep in it.
I see. And do you have any final words to share with the audience that is watching you?
um have fun along the process, like don't get super serious and don't start taking stress about things. Like at the end of the day, it's like for me it has been mostly about like I think I would have not continued with it had I not made such good friends and like not met such amazing people. So try meeting new people, try talking to them, try learning from their perspective, and try making friends and having fun along the way, because that's how you're going to be able to spend time in that field. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to be working alone, right? You always have to work with people, whether it's in a community or whether it's in a company. So try finding your place and have fun.
I see. That was a very good thing. I think that's it. That's what I had anything to ask you. But for all the audience who's watching this, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button and stay updated for the next podcast, because I have some excited speakers next to invite as well. We'll be starting with some of the podcasts with the maintainers of the cage. So I'm planning to bring those as well. Well, thanks, Ash, for joining it. It was really amazing to have you on the other side, and
My pleasure.
I'm looking
All the
forward
best
to
for your
interact with
YouTube
you more.
channel. Don't
Sure.
forget to like and subscribe Nitish's channel. Everyone who's been watching, I'm really excited to see all the things you do.